How are you guys doing? Today is Wednesday, March 23rd, 2022. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to review yesterday's Elite matchups and performances from Tuesday, March 22nd. And before I preview what's going on today, just take a quick step back and look at where we are in the calendar year. As the men's basketball tournament will resume tomorrow, there are 16 teams left in the men's and women's brackets as neither brackets had a game play yesterday. But in the NBA, we are seeing teams start to seed themselves out. And because soccer is on its international break and games haven't played yet, there were only games that happened in the NBA yesterday to look forward to. First, looking out at the NBA, starting off in Orlando, the Orlando Magic hosted the Golden State Warriors. The Orlando Magic would end up beating the Warriors 94-90. They would win this game by 4 after they outscored the Warriors by 13 in the fourth quarter in order to win this game, to come from behind. On the losing end of this matchup, the Golden State Warriors were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard out of Michigan, Jordan Poole. Poole would go on to finish with 26 points and 6 assists in 40 minutes. He shot 9 for 23 from the field, 5 for 13 from 3, and a perfect 3 for 3 from the foul line. Their elite starting shooting guard Klay Thompson will go on to finish with 15 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals, all in 32 minutes. He shot 6 for 15 from the field, and he would go on to make his only free throw on the day. Their small forward off the bench, Otto Porter Jr. out of Georgetown, will go on to finish with 14 points and 15 rebounds in 26 minutes. He shot 5 for 8 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. Their all-star starting small forward, Andrew Wiggins, finished with 13 points and 8 rebounds in 36 minutes. The former number 1 overall pick out of Kansas shot 5 for 19 from the field and 1 for 2 from the foul line. And then their all-star starting power forward, Draymond Green, finished with 2 points, 3 rebounds, 7 assists, and 2 steals in 29 minutes. He shot 1 for 3 from the field. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Orlando Magic were led in scoring by their starting center out of Duke, Wendell Carter Jr. He finished with 19 points and 8 rebounds in 33 minutes. He shot 7 for 12 from the field and 4 for 5 from the foul line. With this win, the hometown Orlando Magic are now 20-53. That is the second worst record in the Eastern Conference, and at the moment that is the third worst record in the NBA. They've now won their last 2 games, and they've won 5 of their last 10. They are currently sitting 16 and a half games behind the 10th place Atlanta Hawks, as the Magic have 9 more games left in their season. The Orlando Magic at the moment are one of 3 teams in the Eastern Conference and one of 5 teams in the NBA that have been eliminated from playoff contention. In the East, they sit alongside the Detroit Pistons and the Indiana Pacers for right now. With this loss, the Golden State Warriors, are now 47-25. That is the third best record in the Western Conference, and they are tied with the Miami Heat for the third best record in the NBA. The Warriors have now lost their last 3 games. Their 3-game losing streak is the third longest active losing streak in the Western Conference. They've lost 6 of their last 10 games. In the Western Conference playoff picture, they are sitting 2 games behind the second-place Memphis Grizzlies. They are sitting 2 games ahead of the fourth-place Utah Jazz. At the moment, they are trailing the first-seed Phoenix Suns by 11 games in the conference, as they have 10 games left in their schedule. Taking a look now at what happened in Madison Square Garden, the New York Knicks hosted the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks would beat the Knicks by 6. They won 117-111 after they outscored the Knicks by 10 in the second quarter and then by 8 in the fourth quarter to overcome their 2-point deficit going into the fourth. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown New York Knicks were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard out of Duke, RJ Barrett. Barrett finished with 30 points, 13 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and 5 turnovers in 42 minutes. He shot 9 for 25 from the field, and he will go on to shoot 11 for 17 from the foul line, as he shot 1 for 7 from 3 as well. Their starting shooting guard, Alec Burks, finished with 21 points and 3 steals in 36 minutes. He shot 9 for 16 from the field and 3 for 7 from 3. On the winning end of this matchup, the Atlanta Hawks were led in scoring by their elite starting point guard, Trae Young, out of Oklahoma. Young finished with 45 points and 8 assists in 40 minutes. He shot 13 for 25 from the field, 7 for 15 from 3, and he shot 12 for 14 from the foul line. The Hawks shooting guard off the bench, Bogdan Bogdanovic, finished with 32 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and 3 steals in 34 minutes. He shot 11 for 20 from the field, 4 for 10 from 3, and he shot a perfect 6 for 6 from the foul line. Their starting power forward, Danilo Gallinari, finished with 10 points and 10 rebounds in 30 minutes. He shot 4 for 11 from the field, and he made his only free throw. With this win, the Atlanta Hawks are now 36-36. That is the 10th best record in the Eastern Conference. They've won 6 of their last 10 games. In the Eastern Conference play-in picture, they are sitting at the very bottom of it, as they sit 1 game behind the 9th place Charlotte Hornets. They sit 5.5 games ahead of the 11th place Washington Wizards, as the Hawks have 10 games left in their schedule. They are trailing the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat by 11 games at the moment. Taking a look at what happened in Milwaukee, the Milwaukee Bucks hosted the Chicago Bulls. The defending champs would beat the Bulls 126-98. They would win by 28 points. They outscored the Bulls by 13 in the first quarter, so they were up by 16 at half. They would go on to outscore the Bulls by 6 in the third and fourth quarters each. On the losing end of this matchup, the Chicago Bulls were led in scoring by their starting center, Nikola Vucevic. He finished with 22 points and 7 rebounds in 32 minutes. He shot 9 for 15 from the field and 4 for 5 from 3. Their all-star starting small forward out of USC, DeMar DeRozan, finished with 21 points in 36 minutes, as he also finished with 4 rebounds and a couple of assists. He shot 10 for 23 from the field and 1 for 5 from 3. The Bulls' all-star starting shooting guard out of UCLA, Zach LaVine, finished with 21 points, 3 rebounds, and 7 assists in 34 minutes. He shot 6 for 16 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3, and 5 for 6 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown defending champs Milwaukee Bucks were led in scoring by their starting point guard, Jrue Holiday. Holiday finished with 27 points and 7 assists in 32 minutes. He shot 12 for 17 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3, and he shot 1 for 2 from the foul line. Their elite starting power forward, last year's NBA Finals MVP, Gianna Santericumpo, he would go on to finish with 25 points, 17 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 blocks, and 9 turnovers in 30 minutes. He shot 9 for 12 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, and he shot 6 for 9 from the foul line. And then with this win, the Milwaukee Bucks are now 45-27. That is currently the second best record in the Eastern Conference, win percentage wise. They are tied with the Utah Jazz for the 5th best or the 6th best record in the NBA at the moment. The Bucks have won 8 of their last 10 games. In the Eastern Conference playoff picture, they sit 2 games behind the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat. They sit half a game ahead of the 3rd place Philadelphia 76ers. They also sit half a game ahead of the 4th place Boston Celtics. With this loss, the Chicago Bulls are now 42-30. That is the 5th best record in the East. They've lost 7 of their last 10 games. In the Eastern Conference playoff picture, they sit 2.5 games behind the 3rd place Philadelphia 76ers and the 4th place Boston Celtics. They sit a game ahead of the 6th place Cleveland Cavaliers. They trail the Eastern Conference leading Heat by 5 games in the conference, as they have 10 games left in their schedule. Last but not least, jumping to the Mile High City, the Denver Nuggets hosted the Los Angeles Clippers, and the Nuggets would beat the Clippers by 12. They won 117-115 after they outscored the Clippers by 10 in the first quarter and carried that momentum through the end of the game. On the losing end of this matchup, the Los Angeles Clippers were led in scoring by their shooting guard off the bench, Terrence Mann. He finished with 24 points and 8 rebounds in 35 minutes. He shot 7 for 10 from the field, and he shot 10 for 12 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Denver Nuggets were led in scoring by last year's NBA MVP, Nikola Jokic. The Nuggets' elite starting center would go on to finish with 30 points, 14 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, and 3 blocks in 34 minutes. He shot 9 for 15 from the field and 12 for 13 from the foul line. With this win, the Denver Nuggets are now 43-30. That is the 6th best record in the Western Conference, win percentage-wise. They've won 6 of their last 10 games. In the Western Conference playoff picture, they sit a game and a half behind the 5th-place Dallas Mavericks. And at the moment, they sit a game ahead of the 7th-place Minnesota Timberwolves, as the Nuggets have 9 games left in their schedule. With this loss, the Los Angeles Clippers are 36-38. That is the 8th best record in the Western Conference. They've now lost their last 4 games. Their 4-game losing streak is the second longest active losing streak in the West. Only the Thunder have a longer losing streak. They've lost 7 of their last 10, like I just said. In the Western Conference playoff picture, they are sitting 6.5 games behind the 7th-place Minnesota Timberwolves. They are sitting 4 games ahead of the 9th-place Los Angeles Lakers, as the Los Angeles Clippers at the moment have 8 games left in their schedule. So that is what the NBA is looking like following yesterday's matchups. As like I said, that's the Nuggets and the Clippers are sitting well within playoff positioning. Taking a look at what's going on today. Today is Wednesday, so the primetime matchups are going to be on ESPN. First at 7:30, the Memphis Grizzlies, who hold the 2nd best record in the NBA, are going to host the Brooklyn Nets, who hold the 8th best record in the East. The Grizzlies enter this matchup having won 7 of their last 10 games, as they sit 2 games ahead of the 3rd-place Golden State Warriors, and they sit 9 games behind the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns. And then coming into this matchup, the Brooklyn Nets have won their last 2 games. They've won 6 of their last 10. They sit 2 games behind the 7th-place Toronto Raptors in the East. Following that, on primetime and ESPN and the Crypto.com arena, the Los Angeles Lakers, who hold the 9th best record in the Western Conference, are going to host the Philadelphia 76ers, who hold the 3rd best record in the East. Coming in at home, the Lakers have won 4 of their last 10 games, as they sit 4 games behind the LA Clippers, who hold the 8th best record. In the East, the Philadelphia 76ers have won 6 of their last 10 games. They sit half a game behind the 2nd-place Milwaukee Bucks for the moment. Taking a look at the games that aren't on prime time, at 7 o'clock, the Charlotte Hornets are going to host the New York Knicks in the Spectrum Center. At the same time, the Detroit Pistons, who are holding the worst record in the Eastern Conference, are going to host the Atlanta Hawks, who are holding the 10th best record in the East. At 7 at the same time, the Indiana Pacers, who have already been eliminated from playoff contention, are going to host the Sacramento Kings, who are still just fighting to keep their playoff contention hopes alive. At 7:30, the Boston Celtics are going to host the Utah Jazz in TD Garden. Both of these teams holding playoff spots. Both of these teams holding the 4th best records in their respective conferences. At 7:30, the Miami Heat are going to host the Golden State Warriors. These teams are tied for the third best record in the NBA, as the Heat hold the best record in the East. At 8 o'clock, the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to host the NBA leading Phoenix Suns. At 8 o'clock, the Oklahoma City Thunder are going to host the Orlando Magic. Both of these teams have been eliminated from playoff contention this year. At 8:30, the Dallas Mavericks are going to host the Houston Rockets. The Rockets hold the worst record in the NBA at the moment. And then last but not least, at 10 o'clock, the Portland Trail Blazers are going to host the San Antonio Spurs, as these are 2 teams that are still looking to just make it into the play-in picture. That's what the NBA is looking like. And then taking a look what's going on with soccer, because we are in an international break. There was nothing going on yesterday, and there's not much going on today. But there are just a bunch of international friendlies going on as we navigate through this tournament, or as we navigate through this world of sports one day at a time. So with that said, I want to thank everyone for listening to this piece. I really do hope all is well. I want to thank the ESPN, the NCAA, the NBA, and FIFA websites for giving me what I needed. And once all of today's episodes our exhibitions and matchups are done, I'm going to come back tomorrow with another episode of The Elite for everything that happened today, Wednesday, March 23rd, to prep for the second weekend of March Madness. And of course, thanks once again for listening to this piece. I do hope all is well. I do apologize if I butchered any names, and thanks for listening. I will follow this up with an individual profile. Thanks for listening to this piece. I hope all is well. And I will catch you with more after this. And thanks for following along. Peace out.